What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about a book that has literally changed my life, and not just as far as work goes, but as far as family, how I prioritize things, how I really look at my schedule, how I set up my schedule, all of those things. And I want to dive into that today with you so that you can also use this book and hopefully it'll change your life as well. So the book I'm talking about is one you've probably heard me talk about before on my channel, and it's Cal Newport's Deep Work. Today, right now, I'm doing that deep work. It's a Saturday, but I have a few hours that I can spend, and usually I do not use a Saturday or a Sunday because I'm too busy with my family. And that is the whole key to why I wanted to come on and talk to you about this today. I've used this book in a way to really learn how to prioritize how I spend my time and how I let others know what I'm doing in that time and whether or not it will involve or not involve them. When you're running a family and you're running a business as well, and in my case, I run two different businesses, a nonprofit, and then I also run this current business. But if you don't have boundaries and you don't have ways that you've set up your life, your work can take over and it can bleed into your lifestyle. It can bleed into the way that you run your family. It can bleed into your family time. And I like to think of my work flow and my work space and my work time, my work periods. I like to think of those as like a scope that I don't let run into any other area of my life, because those areas are just as important to me. And Deep Work, that book, was able to show me how to do this. So I want to show you guys how that works and how you can make it work for your life. What's up, guys? It's your girl, Ashlee Tate, and I am a brand strategist if you're new to this channel, and I help change makers, creatives, and small business owners unleash their message into the world so they can increase their profit, purpose, and productivity. And in today's video, I'm so excited to share just a different way of thinking about how we look at our focus and how to create more focus in your life so that you can focus on profit, purpose, and productivity, and really while you're managing it all. Because I can tell you that it is not easy to manage everything and then still have space for creativity, space to get all the things done that you want. So in today's video, that's what we're gonna be talking about. Anyway, let's jump in. So I read this book in 2016 when it first came out, and it stuck with me for the last 5 years. Like, I really, really, really love this book. And the reason that I love it so much is because it's really a completely different way of thinking than our current culture of, you know, every 15 seconds you're getting something new. You get bored after watching something for 1 minute, and I am guilty of it too. So I try very hard to structure my life around this concept of deep work. And more than anything, what it allowed me to do is identify my priorities and identify what my values are and where I really want to spend the majority of my time working on something. What do I want to see as the overall vision for my life, and how do I plan on getting there? So Cal Newport really created this to help us create 3 to 4 different blocks of work. And basically that would be 4 hours of deep work if you had the time in the morning, and then maybe 4 hours of deep work in the afternoon. When you do this, you're gonna see like the incredible benefits and the amount of work that you can get done. And it's not just work to be busy. It's not just work like tasks that you're always doing. It's work that really moves the needle forward. And a lot of times we get busy with the everyday little tasks, but when you start to really look at how can I move the needle and really make progress on what I see as something important, okay? That means like creating content. That means coming up with a new concept or bringing your concept that you have into a strategy. It can mean writing a book. It can mean a lot of different things that you're spending your time on. Now, depending on what kind of time you have, if you're like myself, I have 2 children, I run 2 businesses, I have my family, so I don't have a ton of time to give, but I do have a 3 to 4 hour block. Now, what gets tricky about that is making sure that you schedule your time accordingly. And this is when the priorities show up and help you determine what's a priority, what's not a priority, what do you value, where do you want to give up something so that you can have a full block of 3 to 4 hours to get things done. And I'm going to teach you how to, in this video, I'm just going to give you a couple little tips on how to actually employ this in a way that will work you up to those full 3 to 4 hours of work, because it isn't easy. And a lot of people cannot go from watching the 15 seconds to the 3 to 4 hours. So now that I've given you my story, now that I've given you a little bit of like background on what all I'm managing in my life, I want you to understand a couple of things from the book that he talks about that are key to really setting up your system for yourself. So like I said, I want to share the ways that you can start your ritual for yourself, which is what he calls it in his book. I think of it more as like a system for yourself or a schedule for yourself. So don't let the word ritual really get too daunting. It's not what it sounds like. But the first one is, where will you do the deep work? Like, where are you going to create the space to do the deep work? Now, for me, my space is in our mother-in-law unit, and oftentimes we'll have guests here, or we'll have family come and stay with us, but I've decided to cut out a little nook for myself, and I just use this space as a way to lock everything out. My 2 dogs, my 2 kids, my husband, any of the things that might happen in our home, a visitor popping up, any of those things I block out, because in my mind, I know that no one knows I'm in here working, right? Except my family, which they know the boundary. And I do think that that is part of creating that boundary for yourself, to say, hey, I'm working. Everyone knows when mom goes over to that space, do not bother her. So you have to find the space that you can use to actually start just doing your ritual, right? Starting the ritual of creating a space to do the deep work. In the book, he talks a lot about, like, for this specific area, like the where, he talks about maybe it's a clear space and it's a clear desk and it's a way for you to work. For me, it's having the things that I love around me and creating that space for myself, right? Like, love butterflies. You see the butterflies. I have some pictures that I like, some greenery, all the things, some motivational quotes, things that really kind of make up who I am. So when I come into this space, I know that it's mine, that I'm going to sit down and start working, right? I've got everything I need to work. Okay, so that's number 1. Find that space for yourself. Think of what makes you happy. It can be a little nook in the kitchen, and you can pop in some headphones, and when people see you there, they know that that's the boundary. Do not disturb, okay? And it's a little different when you're managing it all. Like, you've got a home and you've got a life and family and all the other things going on. You need to have a way to really block out all of the pieces. Like, say you have dogs, like, do they need to go in a crate? Do they need to go on a walk first and then they can come and be in your space with you? There's lots of things that you need to consider when you're thinking about where you're going to start doing this deep work. So that's number 1. So in the second piece, we're talking about how you'll work once you start. Now, what this means is, what things do you have in place to make sure that when you start, your brain has everything it needs to actually get focused? Like, do you need a clean desk, like we talked about earlier? Do you need to, I need to drink my smoothie beforehand. I need to make sure I have worked out beforehand, since I know that that's going to make me the clearest when I sit down to work. Do you need to get home from work, take a shower, and do, cook dinner and do all the things, and maybe you're a night owl, and so you can do it at, from 8 p.m. after your kids go to bed to 11, and you can still get up and go to work and do all of the things that you do. If you're a working mom, or you have another job that you do, and this is more of a side hustle that you're building. But that gives you 3 hours of focused time to really work on whatever is most important to you that you might be building, okay? So that's why this is so important. That could be your time that you're batching. That could be your time that you are coming up with content ideas. It could be the time that you're researching those ideas. Whatever it is, it's really being clear and intentional about creating the space that you need in order to be able to do that deep work. Number 3, how will you support your work? Once you start working this way, you're going to see things that will actually start to disrupt your work. And when you see these things, it's good to address how you need to deal with that so that you can support the deep work. The deep work is minimal distractions. So if you're like me and you have kids, if they're in school, you shouldn't really be distracted, but you want to be available in case the school calls, or in case your child calls, or something urgent happens and people need you. So if that's the case, maybe you put your phone on Do Not Disturb, and you only have your children who can disturb you during that time, or the school, or your husband, or your spouse, whoever. But whatever that is, you need to put those things in place. So one of my boundaries that I set in place for doing deep work was 10 to 1, I don't answer my phone. People know this. They know I don't answer my phone until after 1 o'clock, and it works best for me that way. And I say, if you need something, please text me. That way it gives me the opportunity to see like, okay, this is not urgent, or I do need to actually answer this call, or I need to pick up and text back, or whatever the case, or remind them that I will call them after 1 o'clock. So it's not gonna be perfect, and I don't want you to expect it to be perfect, but when you put these things in place, it does make the resistance of actually sitting down and doing the deep work much easier. You get much more clarity, and you get much more focus because you understand that you've already put boundaries on all the things that you know can affect you. And as they pop up and you see more of them, then you know how to address it and where you want to address it in your life. So one of the last things that he talks about in this section of the book of creating your ritual is making a grand gesture. Now, that gesture can be something like getting a coach. Maybe you need an accountability coach, or maybe you're going to commit to this so much, whatever it is, that you're going to get a writing coach, let's just say. And that's a grand gesture because you're putting out money, or you're putting out a lot of time, or a lot of effort, or you're saying publicly, this is what I'm about to do. And you're making yourself accountable and making the world, basically putting the world on notice that this is what you're about to do. So one of the ways that I made a grand gesture in my business and for my deep work is I schedule a bi-weekly call with someone that I call an accountability coach. And I do that because that person is also working on the same type of journey that I'm on. And so we get together, we pump each other up, we make sure that we are on track and that we're hitting those goals. And it really is something that just kind of reinvigorates your whole goal of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it's a way to say, this is something that was important to you, and this is why you're talking to this person every couple of weeks. So it can be anything. It doesn't have to be something huge. It can be something like clearing out a space in your home that is going to be specifically for you, and that is clear to everyone, and putting everyone in your home on notice that this is my space, I'm taking this seriously, and this is gonna also be your deep work space. It can be something as simple as that. So don't think it has to be anything major, but it's a way to significantly increase your productivity. So now that you know basically how this book can help you, obviously I hope that you go get the book because it's awesome. You're gonna love it, and it really will change the way that you're thinking. He talks a lot in here about attention residue, what that looks like, why sometimes we're not able to get things done, and why we have such a hard time getting things done and focusing, and why our focus is so short as a culture right now. And I just don't think that this book and this information can get old. I have reread the book many times when I feel like I need a little inspiration. The other thing is I want to leave you guys with 3 little things I think you can start doing. And in order to reach that period of time where you're working for 3 to 4 hours straight, and it's just kind of like all focused work on something that you care about, like this is like a big project that you would just be working on for 4 hours, take breaks. So when I first started, I used the Pomodoro Method. I still love the Pomodoro Method. Sometimes when my energy is waning, I will use the Pomodoro Method. And basically what that comes down to is you use 25 minutes of hardcore work. You take a 5-minute break, like go get a cup of water or some coffee or whatever it is that you go to the restroom, whatever it is, you take 5 minutes and then you come right back to it and you set the timer to work for another 25 minutes. And I still love that. If I have a short period of time, like if I only have an hour, I always use the Pomodoro Method. I feel like I can get 2 mini little projects done, and the focus is there. I know that I just have to work for 25 minutes and then I move on. And one of the things that people say all the time is like, whatever the task is will fill the space of time that you give it. So if you give it 25 minutes, you can get done with the project in 25 minutes. But if you give it an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, it'll be that as well. So deep work just allows you to give your mind the space and the ability to be creative without feeling like it's on a timeline, like a strict timeline, like the Pomodoro Method. But if you're using that time, the 10 to 1 space or the 3 to 4 hours, and you want to get a lot of small projects done, or you just need that jump start to start focusing, use the 25-minute, 5-minute, 25-minute Pomodoro Method. And I promise you, you will be so surprised by what you are actually seeing as far as the improvement in your productivity. If you are wanting to move away from your phone or wanting to really get super focused, one of the things that he says is let yourself be bored. And I think a lot of people don't know how to be bored anymore. And I don't know if you guys remember, like, but I'm an 80s kid and we didn't have phones and all that stuff back then. So, you know, you always had a book with you or a magazine, or you just sat there with your parents at an appointment and you were just bored, like just thinking. And I think that's such a powerful thing, because when we let our minds just think, we are allowing so much opportunity for creativity, right? Like ideas that come to you that you can take a note on, ideas that just allow you to think about anything. I mean, anything. Sometimes I get some of my best ideas when I'm just washing the dishes. Like, it's so mundane, but I get them there. So I want you to think about it from that perspective of being bored. Like, allow yourself the opportunity to be creative. And I said all 3 of those. So basically it was let yourself get bored, pick up a book, and write your thoughts down. It is so beneficial to you to allow yourself the time and space to just be creative, right? Let your mind just wander. Let it think, let it do what it does on its own. Like, no Instagram, no Twitter, no nothing. Don't pick up your phone. Just let it be. Try it, and I promise you will notice. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna like feel some major friction, but try it for like a week. Where if you're somewhere, you're in the store, you're at an appointment, you're waiting, don't pick up your phone. Just let your mind wander. Pick up a book if you want to, pick up a magazine, but no phones. So that is the tip I'll leave you with. And he talks about that in the book as well. So that is the end of today's video. I hope it helped you. I hope you will start your own deep work ritual. I can guarantee you that it's going to be an amazing, amazing change in your life when you get out there and start unleashing your something amazing. And I will also leave the link down to the book down below. But go get it. I'm telling you, it's incredible. See, I'm like always reading. My kids made this for me, but I'm always like rereading this book. I always have little places marked in it and everything. There's so many things that, you know, sometimes we just need a reminder on in how we guard our focus, how we think of our work and how valuable it can be as a creator to the world, but giving ourselves the space to actually create it. So anyway, I'll see you guys next week. Let me know for you, what is the hardest part of doing the deep work or doing, you know, guarding your focus? Like, what is it that interrupts your focus so much that makes it difficult for you to actually sit down and do the work or have 3 to 4 hours to actually do the work? Are you antsy, or is it more the outside distractions, or are you hanging with distracted people who are distracting you from your mission? So I want to know, leave it down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you next week. Bye guys.